Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger. And up next, man, in this live, kind of an improv live, we're going to be talking about Baltimore Ravens training camp standouts and sports media as it pertains to Ravens criticism and Lamar Jackson shortcomings. So let's get into it. We won't keep you in here long, man. We want to get this out, get this in front of you, and move to our next operation. All right, so let's get into this thing, man. So the Baltimore Ravens are in the second week of training camp, or at least they're closing the second week of training camp, and there has been some additional standouts. We understood that once the Baltimore Ravens put the pads on, the tone would change. And that's exactly what happened for rookie second round pick Mike Green. Mike Green put on an absolute performance as much as possible without being full contact, tackling, that kind of thing. In his pass rush sessions, he put on a display of power, a display of speed, a display of, I guess, what you would call motor, right? And so we believe that everything that Mike Green was, everything he showed from college, everything that had him projected to be a top 15 pick with the caveat and contingencies of his off the field issues, everything that we thought he could be, he put on display. Now, I know that's going to hit different once the preseason starts because you're not going against your own guys. I know that's going to hit different once the season starts, right? Because at that point, every snap matters. But this week in particular, Mike Green has shown that he is as advertised. And so, man, that is a good sign for the Baltimore Ravens because I think we need his level of talent. We need his level of explosiveness, power, skill, motor. We need all of that. So shout out to Mike Green, man, for showing what he absolutely can do and could be. Another edge rusher, Tavius Robinson, has also been putting on a nice showing at the Baltimore Ravens training camp as he has shown pass rush ability. He's shown power. And there is an expectation that Tavius Robinson is the next man up if Odafe Owe departs. I think this is Robinson's third season. And so I think everybody that I've heard talk about Robinson has expected him to take that third year leap. And so I expect that as well. And training camp this week has shown as much. So shout out to Tavius Robinson, man, for putting on a nice performance, a demonstration showing what he can do, man. So it looks like the Baltimore Ravens pass rush room is in good hands. Let's go to, let's go to LeJohntay Wester. LeJohntay Wester finally was heard from this offseason and in training camp as he has been taking majority of the snaps at the punt return. He is reported to be shifty, speedy, and he is in some aspects separating himself from Talon Wallace, who was or is in competition for that punt return job. And also, Tyler Wallace has not made any noise, has not made any plays of notoriety at wide receiver. And so I don't think that means that Tyler Wallace is out because I think they paid him $2 million to stick around, but he has not made any noise this offseason. And LeJohntay Wester has gotten some snaps at the wide receiver position as well. And so shout out to LeJohntay Wester for validating the Baltimore Ravens pick. It's exciting to kind of begin to see this kid take form because I'm excited about what he can do offensively beyond the punt return opportunities. Let's go to Devontae Walker. Devontae Walker is a guy who I had high expectations for, as I've previously noted a couple of different times, due to the fact that the Ravens had added DeAndre Hopkins. I thought DeAndre Hopkins would be a spark, a kind of a mentor. And there's no evidence out there that I've seen reported that he has been mentoring Devontae Walker. So whatever Devontae Walker has done between the end of the season and the start of training camp, it is paying off. He is showing his ability to go deep. He's shown his ability to run better routes. And surprisingly, he's shown an improvement in his catchability. So shout out to Devontae Walker, man. I think that he could absolutely and is absolutely earning his way into some rotational snaps. And I think the Baltimore Ravens will be the better for it. Let me think who else has made some noise as I read through some reports from this week. The kicking competition is ramping up. The kickers, both Loop and the UDFA, are kicking very well. This position in particular has me concerned because it's been a long time since we put the special teams, specifically the kicking game, in the hands or in the leg of a rookie. And so either way, whether it's Loop or the UDFA, and I'm gonna pay him some due, so I'm gonna look his name up at some point. And so when I report on the kicking game, I'm gonna give him a nod, the UDFA, I mean. But I think that um, it does make me a little nervous for our kicking game to be in the hands slash leg of a rookie. And what I've seen reported is that everything roughly 47 yards and in has been automatic. There has been some long kicks, some kicks from 50. Both kickers have completed. There has been some kicks beyond 60 that both kickers have completed, but it still doesn't make me assured just yet. And so the good thing is we have about 5 or 6 weeks before the season starts. And I think we could absolutely keep both kickers around. If Luke makes the team, I think we can stash the other guy on the practice squad or vice versa. So hopefully this kicking game continues to be strong. Hopefully we don't have to use them as much other than extra points and kickoffs. But I guess 45 yards and in should be a pretty good distance for these guys to complete kicks. But we'll see. Let me see. Lamar Jackson has been excellent for the most part at practice, connecting on deep throws, connecting with Mark Andrews, connecting with Dayton Wade as another guy. So I'm going to include him and Dayton Wade together. Lamar Jackson hit Dayton Wade on 2 deep passes a couple of practice ago. And so shout out to Dayton Wade, man, for just kind of showing up once again, where he's making some noise. I tell you who Dayton Wade reminds me of. He reminds me of DeAndre Carter, a UDFA from many years ago that the Baltimore Ravens brought in. He just didn't make the team, but during those mini camps and training camps that he was in, he continued to make plays. And DeAndre Carter, who may not be on a team right now, just kind of went through a couple of teams, but he made a good career for himself as a small undrafted wide receiver. And so Dayton Wade gives me those kind of vibes. And so, man, I hope that Dayton Wade makes enough noise and pushes Tylan Wallace for that 6th wide receiver spot. So we'll see. We'll see, man. But shout out to Dayton Wade for showing up. Let me see who else. I think that's about it. Didn't hear much from Rashad Bateman this week. I know Zay is down with an injury as it pertains to training camp. And when I say down with an injury, I know he's battling with one. I don't think he's been missing all of the practices, but that's still concerning, right? Because we're only 5 weeks away from the regular season. I do not see any participation from Zay, Bate, D-Hop in the preseason. I don't at all. So hopefully Zay can get healthy and start the season ready to go. Other injuries. Emory Jones, of course, we know he's still out. Oh, a couple of more standouts as I'm thinking about it. TJ Tampa, a guy who's been playing great coverage, what I call right time, right place, meaning when the ball shows up, he shows up. He's starting to put on display why the Baltimore Ravens took a chance on him in the fourth round last season and why he had a second round grade, even though he failed in the draft. And so hopefully he continues to build, make progress. Chidobe Awuzie, as I'm thinking about cornerbacks, had a couple of good practices, being in good coverage, knocking the ball away, locking up guys on different possessions. Also, Jalen Armour Davis, who had been battling a couple of little nagging things injury wise, he is noted by Zach Orr that he's showing smarts and intelligence. So, man, shout out to the cornerback room who has been doing their thing. Need to see something more from the backup safeties, Sanusi Kane and Bo Braid. Need to see a little more from the linebackers inside, that is. Did see some reports where Teddy Buchanan was performing very well. Trenton Simpson had some good run this past week. As I'm thinking about it more, Travis Jones has shown up with some consistency and shown some disruptiveness. So, man, I think that even though we've had some injuries, the biggest being Isaiah Likely, I do think that the Baltimore Ravens are trending in the right direction. And within 1 week, man, we're going to be on the field for some preseason snaps. And so I'm excited to see who gets some run and how they perform. So shout out, man, to all the training camp standouts. I do believe that the Baltimore Ravens were off on Friday, and they will return to the field on today at some point. So let's get into some other conversation for today. I don't too particularly like talking about sports media as it pertains to how they talk about or defame the Baltimore Ravens because it's consistent. And I believe they have a consistent rotation of foolishness when it comes to commentary. I think ESPN and Fox kind of rotate. 1 week, Fox is on with the Ravens and promoting what they are. And then that week, ESPN is off, kind of talking derogatory. And then they rotate. ESPN is talking positive and Fox is talking derogatory. I think they just take turns. And this week, some of that popped out. I did see some Nick Wright commentary on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But I want to start out with this ESPN, Mike Tannenbaum, Chris Canty, and Stephen A. Smith, some commentary. And it just kind of highlights how far these national sports syndicated shows are willing to go with bad takes. So let's get into this really quick. Let's start with ESPN and Mike Tannenbaum.
Do you agree that Lamar is the most talented quarterback in the NFL?
I don't. I love Lamar, and I love his improvement going from 58 to 68% completion percentage throughout his career. But I'm going to go with the aforementioned, hopefully that's not an SAT word, Jordan Love as the most talented quarterback in the NFL. When you were designing a quarterback and taking nothing away.
You see up above.
I love Lamar Jackson, and he deserves a ton of credit, guys. When you're in a draft room, you hear a lot about the tape sets the floor and the character sets the ceiling. Lamar Jackson's career is about fulfillment of all his incredible athletic gifts, and he's become a much better quarterback, a much better passer than when he first came out. Again, he went to the bottom of the first round for those questions. And let's give John Harbaugh all the credit in the world. We can see why.
Pause. All right. Is this too high? I think that Mike Tannenbaum in this take is just trying to kind of highlight his smarts as a former GM and as a commentator. I don't think, right? I don't think he really thought through this take. It really seems like he is just off the cusp, had to grab a name, and the name he chose was Jordan Love. And this is no banger on Jordan Love at all. But this is just questioning Mike Tannenbaum's credibility with this take. I know that Jordan Love has not been in the league as long as Lamar Jackson, so to compare them career for career is not really fair. But if we just compare them in the same time frame, Jordan Love as a rookie, second year, third year, fourth year, Lamar Jackson, whether we go first 4 years or last 4 years, I mean, it's not a comparison. But the real question is most talented, not best career. And that's what Mike Tannenbaum gets into. He gets into talking about the outcome of Jordan Love's career versus what Lamar Jackson has done over his career. And the question obviously is about most talented. And most talented is what you can do at a position with all of your attributes. And there is nobody in the league who can do to the level what Lamar Jackson is doing and what he has done. We have a clear sample size of Lamar Jackson's talent on full display. So to drag Jordan Love into this allows Jordan Love to take strays when it's unnecessary. He could have went with Joe Burrow. He could have went with Patrick Mahomes. He could have went with Josh Allen, somebody who has some longevity and some uh, validating feats. But he goes with Jordan Love. Let's finish listening.
We can see why so many players love playing for him. He's a two-time MVP. He could have been the MVP a year ago. But with that said, if the four of us were starting a team today, I would take Jordan Love. I just think he's a little bit bigger. He's a little bit more talented. And I think over the course of his career, when it's all said and done, we're going to look back and say Jordan Love was one of the greatest players of this generation.
Okay, Chris.
Okay. So he says, when we look back, we're going to say that Jordan Love was one of the greatest players of this generation. Well, that would have to exclude Lamar, Josh, Joe, because to say he's one of the greatest, I mean, when you talk about greatest, you're amongst the top. Well, I mean, who does he take off? I mean, who does he go above? Who would Jordan Love go above when the next 5 years is up? It's questionable.
Answer. I just want to give you some context on Lamar. He's the first player in NFL history with 40-plus passing touchdowns and fewer than 5 interceptions in a season. He's also the first player in NFL history with 4,000 passing yards and 800 rushing yards. But no, see, tell me what you think about what Mike T had to say about this.
I think he's out of his mind.
I didn't want to say it.
I think he's out of his mind. I mean, listen, we just saw Sterling Sharp last night as he gets ready to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's going to be one of 4 players to play 7 seasons or fewer to get the Hall call. If Lamar Jackson's career ended today, he would be the 5th one.
Now, let's base it on that metric, right? So he's still talking about, so the conversation, both of these guys are off when it comes to the question of most talented. Because Canty even is talking about career. But if we lean into Chris Canty's take, he's still right. Lamar Jackson should go into the Hall of Fame. He might not get in first ballot, but he is going into the Hall of Fame with what he's done thus far. And we don't have to repeat what he's done thus far, but I will. 2 league MVPs, 3 All-Pros, leader in rushing yards from the quarterback position, 3rd highest rated passer rating in NFL history, the only guy to have 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and over 900 yards rushing in one season. So bring me Jordan Love's credentials if we're going to talk about career. But even when we're talking about it in that context, right, we're still having to estimate talent because the only way Lamar Jackson can throw it like that and run it like that is that he has to be the most talented. But let's let Chris Canty speak.
Lamar Jackson, 5 years from when he's done, is going to walk into Canton. Multiple MVPs. The case is made. You're talking about somebody that is the greatest runner at the quarterback position that we have ever seen. That is not hyperbole. That is fact. He has the most rushing yards of any quarterback in a single season in NFL history. Multiple 1,000-yard rushing seasons from Lamar Jackson. When it comes to touchdown to interception ratio throwing the football, only Aaron Rodgers has a higher touchdown to interception ratio than Lamar Jackson. So his is higher than Josh Allen. It's higher than Joe Burrow. It's higher than Patrick Mahomes. Last year, Lamar Jackson led the NFL in QBR from the pocket. 30 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. This guy can do it all. He's the modern day.
That's 40 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, Chris Canty.
Of Peyton Manning. The irony of that is the guy that evaluated and drafted Peyton Manning said Lamar Jackson should play receiver coming into the league. That's neither here nor there. But what I am telling you all is this. From a physical talent standpoint, the NFL has never seen somebody like Lamar Jackson, and we need to appreciate what.
And we need to appreciate what we're watching. I think that Lamar Jackson kind of falls into a similar category like a LeBron James, where we're seeing his greatness and he's doing, even at an age, that something that nobody else is doing at his age, but it's still underappreciated. And I think that's part of the reason why Lamar Jackson doesn't get the appreciation, right? I think if you're a Ravens fan, appreciation. I think if you play in the AFC, appreciation, specifically in the North. But I think that people are still stuck in the archetype of the traditional pocket passer who has mobility versus what you would call a dual threat quarterback, somebody who can absolutely skate with the ball in his hands, but dice it up throwing the ball as well. And so he's not your traditional or contemporary quarterback, but he's doing it at and above the same level as those guys. And so I think that he gets that LeBron James treatment because people just don't have anything else to say. It's easier to complain and point out the negativity about a person versus to celebrate their greatness. But let's listen to Stephen A.
I completely and wholeheartedly agree with you. And I'm glad this subject came up because yesterday when Kevin and myself and Ryan Clark were on the ASCC and Mike T, there was a discrepancy because they talked about Lamar Jackson as a passer. And then they drew the distinction when I got into the fact that I didn't think he was the best passer. It was a distinction between passing and actually just specifically throwing because they were taking into account pressure, him in the pocket, him on a run, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, all right, y'all compartmentalizing it that way. I was talking specifically as a thrower of the football. I do not think he's the best. But to answer this question, the most talented quarterback in the National Football League, considering all the components that come with playing the quarterback position, there is no question that there has never been a talent, an all-around talent at the quarterback position that equals Lamar Jackson.
Now, believe this or not, Stephen A. actually got it right. And we're going to do Nick right here in a minute. That's why he's on the screen. But Stephen A. Smith actually got it right. He didn't go with the career statistics. He didn't do any of that. He stuck to the topic, which was most talented. And I think that's how people get into those extraordinary takes, is when they include other aspects. But again, even if we're talking about most talented and we bring in career, there is no world that exists where you're putting Jordan Love above Lamar Jackson. It doesn't matter if you try to map out how their careers are going to end. There's no world that exists that is true. All right. So let's listen to Nick Wright, man. I want to listen to him, give a little commentary, and then we'll wrap up everything in one when he gets done.
We're going to go Chiefs Ravens here.
Chiefs. I know that the modern sports media is in a post-results era, and success and actually accomplishing things is so passe and overrated. And have you seen the Week 12 Ravens DVOA the last couple of years? Hang the banner. But at some point, the Baltimore Ravens have to accomplish something.
Now, so the question really was not about playoffs, accomplishment, attainment. The question is roster for roster. But just like every other sports media, pundit, commentator, analyst, they try to be slick and go with a macro narrative versus the micro question. And that's what Nick Wright is doing here, right? But I got a surprising take when we get done listening to Nick Wright.
And at some point, someone's got to explain to me why I am supposed to think of the Ravens as a great team. Tell me, because they have a great running back and they have an amazing quarterback up until the games matter. Tell the number 31 pass defense, the 25th best receiving core in football, a rookie kicker. Every year I'm beat over the head with this Ravens propaganda. And then there's a brief moment when they fall on their face in the playoffs when everyone afterwards like, we're not going to make that mistake again. And then 2 months later, it's like, I think they're going to do it this year. Why?
All right. So I definitely hear what Nick Wright is saying. He's not answering the question from just a team building context, a 53-man for 53-man roster comparison. I think the number one team he selected was the Eagles. I guess he's going with the Chiefs. And then maybe if the conversation were to continue, maybe the Ravens would fall somewhere in that top 3 or 4 or 5. But here's my take. Nick Wright is right. Not in the context of roster for roster. Because when you look at the rosters, I do think the Baltimore Ravens have a more talented, more complete roster. So let me dive into that and then let me tell you where he was right. Quarterback for quarterback, I'm going to make it a wash. Again, I'm not comparing careers. It's no comparison, Patrick Mahomes' career accomplishments to Lamar Jackson's career accomplishments. Not a comparison. But I think it's a wash based on the play for this majority of the season, which is a larger sample size than in the playoffs. Lamar has had dueling seasons with Patrick Mahomes as it pertains to outcome, wins, losses, things of that nature. Yeah, with understanding the Chiefs only lost 1 game last year. The Ravens lost, I think, 5 or something like that. But what I'm saying, when you talk about numbers, statistics, percentages, all of those things, is a very nice comparison. So I'm going to make it a wash. But you know what? I'll even give the Chiefs a little bit of an edge just for conversation's sake. Running back room, no comparison. Okay. Tight end room, even with Isaiah Likely going down, I still think we have an advantage in the tight end room. You have a reestablishing Mark Andrews versus an older Travis Kelce who just tries to maintain until the playoffs. Wide receiver room, I'm going to make it a wash. Simply because Zay, Rice, I think they're comparable, not in size or speed, but just in production. Worthy, Bateman's holistically the better receiver. Worthy has the speed and athleticism. D-Hop, Marquise Hollywood Brown has the speed. D-Hop has the size and hands. So you can compare it down, but I think it's a wash. Okay. Offensive line for offensive line, I'm going to give the Ravens a nod only because the Chiefs seem to be in a restoration mode. They moved on from Joe Thuney. They moved on from Orlando Brown a couple of seasons ago. And so they're trying to find who they are along the offensive line, where the Baltimore Ravens are returning 5 of 5 starters from last season, at least the season start. The 5 guys we're going to start this season were the same 5 guys we started with last season. So I give the Ravens a nod in the context of continuity. So when you look at that, the Ravens have a little bit of an advantage in some areas. The Chiefs have a little bit of advantage in some areas. So offense is a wash. But defense from front to back, the Ravens have a better squad. We have, you got McDuffie, but when Alexander, that be Jair Alexander, is healthy, they're very, very comparable. I think we have the better safety room. I think we have the better linebacking room. And with the exception of Chris Jones, we have the better depth in the trenches. And so I don't see where Nick Wright is saying it unless he's just taken into the context of what happens in the playoffs, which I think that's where he's right. Again, he does not answer the question. He deviates. But when you listen to his commentary and he says, what makes you think I'm going to say basically that the Ravens are a better team? He can be right in that context because he brings into the conversation the Baltimore Ravens late season fails. And at some point, the Ravens have to be able to get it done. The Ravens have had great rosters in 2023, 2024, and we have a great roster now. And so the question is going to be, will we put it all together? Should we be trusted? And I think that's what Nick Wright is saying. I don't trust these guys. And if we're honest as a fan base, we don't really trust them either. There's that gnawing feeling in the pit of your stomach that makes you wonder, can they really get it done? And so I do think Nick Wright is right about the trust factor, but I definitely think he's incorrect about the talent or most talented rosters in the league. So, man, let me know what you guys want me to know, man. That's what I got for you guys today. Want to bring that to you guys. When I get some more training camp news, I will bring that to you guys. So listen, I appreciate you guys. Do me a favor, hit like and subscribe, and I'm out.